Come on.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Check Engine Podcast. You're tuned into the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. We're hosted through Anchor.fm, and we are streamed worldwide on all the platforms you use to listen to your favorite podcasts. My name is Nick. Joining me, as they do every week, are my two trusty co-hosts, Andrew and Tristan. Guys, the weekend was so nice that we had to push this recording back another day. How was your weekend? Did you enjoy the weather?
Absolutely. It was, the perfect weather. It's 70s in the day, sunny, little breezy, not much in the way of humidity, and then just a cool night. I mean, that's the weather that everyone in the whole world would pick for every day if they could just have one weather for the rest of their lives, right?
Sleeping weather.
We were San Diego for 2 days.
Yes.
Just 70 sunny and breezy. Like, it was fantastic. We put in, according to Claire's Fitbit, we put in about 30,000 steps over the course of Saturday and Sunday.
Nice.
We were out hiking and, Lapham Peak and all this other stuff. It was great. We came inside to sleep, and that was it.
We briefly considered going to a farmer's market and then drove past and realized that it was just an absolute bloodbath of people without masks. And I was like, oh, right. No, we're going to die if we go there. We'll be killed.
Oh, that's everywhere now. You haven't heard?
No, because I'm still not going outside. Like, I'm not going anywhere. They're going to lock this whole shit down in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're allowing people to go back to work and bars have reopened. So obviously that means the virus is gone and no one needs to wear masks anymore.
Well, the bar thing I knew, but I guess I just didn't realize how bored everyone else had gotten. I guess that was my thing.
Yep, Claire and I, when we went, we were like the only ones wearing them. Now, granted, on a Lapham Peak hike, you're not really in and around too many other people. You're kind of out by yourself. But, we went and grabbed some dinner. We went and got out of the house. And, we were the only ones in the restaurant, even with a mask near them. Not even like someone wore it in and was like taking it off to eat. Just like nothing.
Wait, you went to sat down in a restaurant?
Outdoor seating, man.
Okay. All right. I was like, damn, that's wild.
Outdoor seating. It was nice outside. We're like, we'll take this opportunity because we've been cooking for ourselves for 3 straight months. Let's have someone else wait on us, support the local business, because everybody has like patios or deck seating that's open. So
that's true. Well, all right. And Tristan is here too. Yeah.
I have not moved beyond the curbside pickup and make it at home craze. However, I did invest the better part of an entire day making a smoked pork shoulder that was exquisite. And that was my weekend.
It looked great.
Smoked meats.
Smoked meats. Episode title.
You were sending me the pork nudes.
Yep. I was in process. The outside, and then once it was all shredded up.
It looked great.
That last one, Tristan, wouldn't make a good nude.
all shredded up.
Oh, God.
No, thank you.
It's not an exact metaphor, all right?
Imprecise at best.
That's right.
Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Andrew, what are we here to talk about this evening?
Well, in this era of remakes, are we still in the era of remakes, or there's no movies coming out? Well, before the coronavirus, we were in the era of remakes, and we're at the point now, like if someone announced that they were going to do a remake of the original Fast and Furious, I don't think anybody would even bat an eye.
No, it's been 19 years.
something like that. So anyways, that was kind of my starting point.
Yeah, we're old dudes.
Yeah, super old. But that was kind of my starting point for saying, all right, they've already done this with some older car-focused movies anyways, like The Italian Job. So if we were going to recast the car roles in famous car movies, what would we pick to star? And we got a couple movies here. Just kind of run through them and see what everyone picked and see if we can come up with maybe even a decisive victor for what would be the best choice in a recast of a movie, for example, like Bullet or Fast and Furious.
So we've got 4 movies, correct?
Yes.
Yep, 4 movies we're going through. I specifically don't know how many cars you recast for Fast and the Furious because there was a lot of them. I picked 4.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that later, but like, I don't know if someone went through and did like 19 of them or something like that, but
that would be acceptable too.
It would be. I did not do that. So it's going to be a cool episode. Very unique idea. I haven't this, we admit when we steal ideas. Andrew, as far as I know, you didn't steal this one. This was something that you just kind of came up with.
I don't think I did. I didn't knowingly steal this idea. I'll put it that way.
Okay, that's fair. That gets us, legally, that's all we need. But before we get into any of that, we always start this podcast with a little segment we call Pace Slaps. Guys, have anything to share with the group this week? Little quick ditties, news stories, neat cars, anything like that?
Well, I mean, the biggest news of the week was NASCAR taking their thumb out of their own ass.
Yeah, I mean, first it was like, good on you, applause, slow clap. And then also in the back of my head, I'm like, wait, it's about time. Like, I don't know how, like, I'm happy they did it, but what took them so long?
I think that might be my biggest issue, right? My whole thing with NASCAR last podcast was, okay, fine, the talk, but what comes after that? And I guess this is what comes after it. And while it's obviously a very good thing that NASCAR and everyone else would ban the Confederate flag, I just have such a problem with, all right, in my view, since, I mean, my whole lifetime being conscious of NASCAR as a sport, there has been little to no difference between someone wearing the actual Confederate flag and wearing a NASCAR hat. Those two things have been almost exactly the same. You know what time it is when you see that. And the two things have appeared together so often that to me, they became almost virtually the same thing. And they were okay with that for so long. And I understand, the power of this movement now can't be ignored, but it's just like, I don't feel that they need to be celebrated for just going along with what's popular at the moment. To me, they're not showing anything extraordinary. So I don't know. Is that out of line? Is that too much?
No, I mean, we know it was the right thing to do, and we applaud them for doing the right thing. But again, would they have done this if George Floyd hadn't been killed and there hadn't been protests everywhere?
Well, here's my thing with that, is that I really do think that we were talking about last week about how this is an entry point for so many people. I don't think that it's unreasonable for an organization to have an entry point. Like, be like, hey, wow, we've been wrong. We weren't paying attention to this. I think because it's popular, you can fall into the trap of thinking, oh, they're just doing it because it's popular. But it's not popular it's not popular with their fan base, at least a good part of it. I think to actively look your fan base in the face and go, no matter what you say, that does take a little bit of risk I'm going to stop well short of, anything like corporate courage or anything stupid like that. but I think looking at your fan base that has, the response has not been positive, I will tell you. And sure, maybe a vocal minority, but that's kind of, squeaky wheel gets the grease. And for so long, it's been that group of people that's kind of dictated the culture of NASCAR. Like, I know a lot of perfectly normal, non-Confederate flag wearing, regular people that kind of just enjoy watching NASCAR.
Like Nick.
Hello.
For example.
From time to time, yeah.
And, like, I think that the, Andrew, in your head, the, conflation of the Confederate flag and NASCAR hats comes from that vocal minority, but that's how they're viewed. That those are the diehards a lot of times too, that will, stick with the racing when it's bad, when the cars are bad, whatever. And I think, yes, there could be something to the fact that, like, hey, this is popular, let's get on board. But for a long time, I think NASCAR has enjoyed a lot of the same status in this country, if not worldwide, but in this country that we talked about with F1, where, like, well, we're not obliged to do anything. We're NASCAR. And I think no one would have been surprised if they hadn't done anything. And I don't think they would have lost much if they hadn't done anything. And the fact that they did it anyway, I don't know. I think there's something, I think much like last week, my verdict is still out, but I find it encouraging more than anything else, I guess. Like, more than, I find myself hopefully less jaded than that. Maybe it's about me, not NASCAR. I don't know. But I was shocked when they did it, because they were kind of the last group I expected to. And, even more than F1. Like, I think F1, it kind of falls into the, rich European trap. So they don't care about a lot of things. But I figured, probably a more, forward-looking organization, just due to the nature of the sport, science, technology, that kind of thing, draws in people that might have different views, kind of from all over the place. They might be obliged to do that, and they didn't.
And still crickets from them.
Yeah, and NASCAR, there's no need for it, and the fact, in a lot of people's minds, probably there's no need for them to do that to maintain their status with most of their fans, and they did it anyway. So I'm still reserved, but optimistic, I guess.
Okay, I don't know. That is a different way of looking at it. I guess I expected this or something like this coming from NASCAR for no reason other than they did a thing, right? And I don't know. It almost seemed like I'm expecting more than they could ever possibly give. But I guess, I mean, the obvious counterpoint, or maybe it's even not a counterpoint, just the obvious narrative running alongside this is Bubba Wallace, simply because he is a successful driver in NASCAR who's black, and he's the only black driver in NASCAR. And he's young, he's been driving well, and he was a Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. And yet, I mean, at the time he joined, I don't know if this is counted from the time he joined Xfinity or for the time he joined the Cup, but I think when he joined the Cup, he was the only African-American or Black American who had been in NASCAR in a decade. And I guess what I'm thinking, and maybe this isn't the right way to think about it for something like NASCAR, in all that time, they've had no initiatives, they've had no, and it's not that other race series do, you know what I mean? But I feel like they're looking for a way to lead, and they're starting with the performative. And maybe that's giving them too much credit. You know what I mean? Maybe that's even too much. But I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I'm still at we'll see.
Okay. Speaking of Bubba Wallace, both you, the two of you, and any listeners out there who may have not seen this, if you've got half an hour while you're laying in bed, Ty Dillon, another driver in the series, had Bubba Wallace on Instagram TV on his account, and it just addressing the current state, and they just had it was like a heart-to-heart kind of thing, almost, just in the public face, and he was just asking Bubba to share some of the experiences he had as a black man coming up through the stock car racing in the South, both on and off the track, and some of the things he's experienced. And at 27 years old, I think Bubba is, like
26, 27, yeah,
something like that. It is like some of the stories he was sharing were just ridiculous, like the way he was treated.
Yeah.
It's a pretty powerful thing. So I encourage people to just go listen. Ty Dillon and his Instagram feed. It came out like middle of last week, like last Wednesday, Thursday, something like that, as we're recording this. So just go take a listen if you get a chance. Other big news. I don't know if you guys saw this. I just posted it on the Facebook page today. Our man Carlos Ghosn is back in the headlines.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I didn't see this.
Can we buy the screenplay?
Can we buy the screenplay now? Andrew, I'm going to read you this headline. Internal Nissan emails reportedly corroborate Ghosn's claim of a setup.
Oh shit!
And this is according to Bloomberg is the ones who reported this. I found the article on Autoblog, but they're citing Bloomberg as their source.
What do they mean by setup? What do they mean?
So it's actually a really short article, so I'm just going to read through it. It's actually really quick. It's like less than half a page on my laptop right now. So an internal email trail reportedly supports Carlos Ghosn's claim that Nissan orchestrated his ousting. Leaked emails have been corroborated by sources familiar with their contents, according to Bloomberg. Emails going back to February 2018, a year before his arrest, allegedly describe a deliberate and multi-pronged effort, quote, a methodical campaign to remove Ghosn from the company, and in so doing, put Nissan in position to negotiate a more favorable relationship with alliance partner Renault. The initial effort was apparently triggered by Ghosn's announcement in 2018 that he wanted to further intertwine Renault and Nissan, eventually to the point where their integration would be irreversible. Former Ghosn aide Hari Nada, who would appear as the whistleblower figure who outed Ghosn for his alleged financial misconduct, allegedly suggested to a Nissan senior manager that company executives should move to, quote, neutralize his initiatives before it's too late.
Pew pew.
Nada would later recommend the termination of the agreement governing the Renault-Nissan alliance. This would have granted Nissan broader freedom to purchase stake in Renault, or even ultimately take it over entirely, and reduce the French automaker's influence over Nissan's ability to choose its own executives. Next day, Ghosn was arrested at Haneda Airport in Tokyo.
Well, I don't know. Well, what else can you say?
A part of it we called it.
We claim rights to the screenplay. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. We did call that.
Corporate espionage at its best, boys.
That is... Ooh, the twists. I love it.
They just keep coming.
Twisty.
I love it so much. Let's see. Actually, there was that awkward silence before because what I was doing is counting something. I was counting something. And I want to mention this just before we move off the pace laps. So the pressure's not letting up. The protests aren't ending. John Doonan, where the fuck are you? Where's the instant statement? Here's what I'm counting. 19 countries represented in IMSA, drivers from 19 countries. No statement. What am I to do with that? What am I to do with that information?
I don't know.
Yeah, but I get that F1 doesn't give a shit, because why would they? They don't care about anything. They don't care about the quality of their own product. They're not going to care about this. But they just don't. I'm sorry, they don't. But if NASCAR, I guess that's really how all of these things start now, right? If NASCAR is doing something, then there should probably be a statement from IMSA, who has a bunch of drivers in all their fields from all over the world. Because this hasn't been an America only protest for the length that it's gone on. It hasn't been about just racial injustice in America for as long as it's gone on. What the hell is happening?
I'm actually Googling right now, just trying to see if there was one and we missed it.
I have not seen one. I've done checking. I've checked the Twitter accounts. I've checked the website. I don't see anything. I haven't seen anything.
Yep, me neither. It's so weird.
So I don't know, man. John Doonan.
Where you at?
Come on.
Anywho, Tristan, you got anything for pace laps?
I saw a car with a giant fan on it.
Okay.
Where was the fan located?
It was mounted to a little rack on the trailer hitch.
What was the fan doing?
Was it operational?
No, it's just chilling.
Oh.
It was, I'm sure, for like one of those fan-powered parasailing dealy things.
Wait, what?
Was it carrying like the parachute or something? Like, was there another case on top?
Big backpack harness. I'm assuming the parachute is small and could fit in the vehicle. Like Fan Man? Anybody?
Oh, okay. No. All right. So based on your explanation, what I thought you were suggesting is that similar to parasailing, the driver would hook people up to the truck and then drive around using the fan to somehow keep them up in the air. And I was like, you need to slow way the fuck down, and we need to talk about this more.
I'm going to go with sadly no on that one.
That is
because now I'm sad that that's not what it was for.
I was going to say, if it's not without the fan, if you were just talking parasailing, like, that might be kind of fun behind a vehicle.
Super. I can't think of anything more dangerous at all.
Skydiving without a parachute.
We call it parasailing.
Oh, God. You know, there's videos of that on YouTube somewhere. I'm not going to look it up now, but later.
Yeah, there's something. It ended up on Fail Army somewhere.
Well, probably didn't, because they probably died.
Not the person filming it.
I mean, it could have been a total loss. You never know.
Yeah. RIP in peace. I saw a couple of neat cars over our weekend out. First, on Saturday, rolling right through downtown Delafield past that mobile station there on Main Street. You guys, I'm guessing, are familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A blue Ferrari 458.
Haven't you seen a blue 458 recently?
I've seen a like a deep blood red, but this wasn't even like what you would call like a standard blue. Like, as the light hit it, it was like a custom wrap. It was almost like, it almost looked purple. Like, as it drove by and you got like a different angle, like depending on where the light hit it.
Nice.
It was so crazy. And then we must have an older gentleman in the Neshota area who listens to our podcast, because remember the Sebring Orange ZR1 that I did on the car configurator episode and then brought back for our garage episode?
Mm-hmm.
There was a Sebring orange ZR1 convertible driving right past my condo complex later that same day.
I would love it if you kept seeing that car, just driving slower and slower past your house.
Like trying to make a point.
Like trying to make eye contact if he sees me outside.
That's right.
He finally breaks down to shouting out the window, "Hey, hey!"
Little engine revving.
Yeah, I was so happy. I'm like, there actually is one, not just in pictures. Woo!
Nice.
So that was cool. Anything else, or do we want to get into our movie casting?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, folks, we're going to hop into recasting the cars in popular movies right after this break. All right, we're back, folks, and we're about to get into tonight's main topic. But before we do, we'd like to remind you how to get a hold of us if you do feel so inclined. We have our very own website. That is checkenginepodcast.com. And we also have an email address associated with that. It is inbox@checkenginepodcast.com. We're also all over the socials. I mentioned already that I posted something on Facebook today. If you go to Facebook, search Check Engine Podcast, you can find us there. Andrew, where can they find us on Twitter?
Find us at Check Engine Pod.
And Tristan, where can they find us on the Instagram?
Also at Check Engine Pod. I've been remiss lately. I haven't been out enough to see any cars, so I apologize.
Yeah, it's tough right now. Especially where you're living. You can't see the street, so you can't even like snag a drive-by shot of somebody.
Oh, I can, but with a very short walk, but I mean, nobody drives out here.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say, then it's just a mostly deserted road.
You just turn it into the Tristan's WRX Instagram account and just take pictures of my own car.
Those accounts tend to have more followers than ours.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? If we're looking for content.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, folks, be sure to like, follow, share, post, DM, reach out just how and when you can. You can ask us questions to answer on the air. You can let us know what you like or dislike about our episodes, give us topic ideas, anything you want. So thank you in advance for that. Now, to get back to the show, Andrew, we are playing movie producers strictly for cars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are recasting some of the most famous car or car-centric movies of all time, but only the cars. We really wouldn't, I don't think any of us would care who was acting in these movies. The important part is the cars.
Absolutely. And which movie would you like to start with?
Oh, it's tough because so the movies that we were looking at, Back to the Future, The Italian Job, Bullet, and Fast and the Furious, the first one. And I guess the place to start is probably with the movie that's already been remade once, but they didn't remake the role of the car. And of course, that would be The Italian Job, originally and in the remake, starring the Mini Cooper.
Yes.
Amongst other cars. Now, I've never seen the original version of this. Has anyone?
No, I did read the synopsis on Wikipedia.
I did see the remake, so
I saw the original,
really,
which has nothing to do story wise with the remake, so it's not super helpful.
Nerd. Well,
I like Michael Caine. What? He's a great actor.
Wasn't Michael Caine in that?
Right. That's right. Anglophile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, just cut right to the chase. If we're recasting The Italian Job, it's got to be the Veloster N, and that's it.
Of course you would say that.
It just does. Think about it. What am I going to pick? The new Mini Cooper? No, that's horrible. It's the fun, peppy little hatchback that needs a sales boost.
You're not doing enough for it, but using this podcast as your platform.
Yourself.
Okay, wise guy. Let's hear what would you pick?
Which wise guy are you talking to, me or Justin?
Any one of them.
All right, I'll go. So yeah, I don't think anybody was just going to recast this with the Mini Cooper S because that's already tired and whatever. They've done it twice. So I'm going to run through the two that I first thought of and then nixed. First thing I thought, well, Italian Job. What about the Fiat Abarth 500 Abarth? But way too tiny. even as tiny as the Mini Cooper was, and as outlandish as it was that they were carrying 4 million pounds of gold bullion in the back, a Fiat would be way too tiny. So I thought, okay, what would be the next thing? What would be the next car I would pick outside of a Mini Cooper? Tiny, can maneuver through Italian streets at a pretty good clip. And my next thought was, well, what about a Fiesta RS? And then I thought two things. One, this movie is set in Europe. It should be a European car. And two, fuck Ford, because they don't make them here anymore. So my final choice, what I would do, talk about a car that needs more attention, Andrew. They're going to haul that gold bullion in Renault Megane RSs.
Oh, I would be fully behind that. I love that car.
Phenomenal car.
I love it so much. Oh, it's such a bummer. We never even scented one here. Not even a little bit. Oh, I love that car so much.
Is it weird that we both thought of our nose right there? He said scented. I said sniffed, like right at the
nose.
Boo. Andrew with the dad pun.
I was just saying the plural of Renault. I don't know what you're talking about.
But yes, my pick for the Italian, and it would be back in Italy, because the remake in 2003 was, I think, set in LA for most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could maybe break it a little bit and have, be like the French Job or something, but that sounds highly practical.
Maybe have them zip around through Paris or something like that. But it's going to be in Europe, and they're going to be driving Renault Megane RSs.
Love it.
So I actually ended up going a similar route with this. I actually ended up going with the Seat Leon.
Okay.
And they have various trims, obviously, Cupra, etc., for more or less fast. But that was my pick. Because I was trying to go, I was also trying to go a little obscure. I first thought like the Fiesta ST, actually. Not the RS. I was like, again, I couldn't side with Ford, much like Nick. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe, when you're talking about recasting, it's like, okay, do you keep it close or do you change it up entirely for the remake? It's, Mark Wahlberg versus Michael Caine, are they at all similar? No.
No.
So it's like, well, maybe we go with something entirely different. But I couldn't get away from the idea of the small, fast car. And I think that the Seat Leon is something that doesn't get talked about enough here. At least I wanted to introduce our listeners to it if they didn't know about it. Basically, it's based on the same platform as the Golf. So it's not
a Golf.
All that exciting, but it does have some different looks. I think I like it better than the newest Mark 7.
Oh yeah, it looks
GTI
way better
now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're a Volkswagen person, especially, and have not looked at the Seat Leon, I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting for you. So I sought to bring a little interest to this for people, as well as find something that kind of fit the same idea. I did not think of the 500 apart, though, Nick. That's an interesting choice.
Well, I just at first Italian car would make sense, and then I'm like, well, Alfa Romeo, no, and what car would they even use?
The 4C.
The 4C, yeah, it's too wide. It's like wider than a Lamborghini.
It's a mid-engined,
and it's also mid-engine. So then,
carry exactly 4 bars of gold
in the frunk.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, but the Mini was like super small. So was the Fiat, the 500. I'm like, too small. I know movies can be crazy and like not at all realistic. See Fast and the Furious. But a little more realism. At least the Renault's got a little more trunk space in the hatchback. Here's a question though, and just because this is a serious question to anybody out there, because we're only casting cars and we don't actually make movies. If we were to do this, is it required that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson be in it?
Yes.
Okay. Fair.
Why would you need that?
Standard Hollywood action movie writer at this point. So,
and he's also in most of the TV shows I watch now as well. So take that.
He at least has to be offered a role. He doesn't have to accept it, and if he declines you, it's fine.
Right.
Got
exactly.
it. So he has first right to refusal on anything that Hollywood puts out.
That is correct.
Yep.
Got it.
It seems that
just
way,
to make sure, because you never know. We could have a chance to do this.
That's right.
I'm just noting it for later. That's all.
DJ,
all right.
Hit me up.
I don't think he's.
I'd like to cram you in a tiny European car.
Don't say you want to cram The Rock.
And episode title.
I want to cram The Rock.
Oh no. Speaking of cramming.
Okay. I'm interested to hear how you take this transition. Go ahead.
This one's for you.
I don't have
struggling.
Anything. No, wait, no, I got it. Okay. In the movie Back to the Future 3, maybe it was 2, but I'm pretty sure it was 3, Doc has installed the Mr. Fusion unit onto the back of the DeLorean, wherein he crams this isn't working. The next movie...
Cramming garbage.
Yeah.
Cramming The Rock with garbage.
The next movie we're going to cast... is Back to the Future, and I guess technically it's a recasting of the trilogy because the same car features through all 3 movies. But of course, infamously, the only reason the DeLorean is even remembered is because of Back to the Future, in my opinion.
Oh, totally. I don't think that's your opinion. I think that's a fact.
So, what would you cast as Back to the Future? What did I cast? I actually ended up with a tight race between 2 cars that are both from the same manufacturer.
Okay.
And I don't think anyone is going to see this coming. My first choice, I think it's my first choice now in the moment, would be the Cadillac ELR.
Okay.
Oh. And my second choice was the XLR. But I think in this instance, I'll go for the ELR. It's an electric car that failed miserably. No one has ever seen one.
I have seen one.
No, you haven't.
Yes,
no one's ever seen one. And, they're super rare. They only sold 3,000 out of their entire run. And it would be a complete unknown. It's a car that in this role, it actually looks like it would look pretty cool with some jet engines on the back as well. But this role could actually make this car, or the XLR, I just think ELR because, electric and like forward looking, that kind of thing. Because, if you're going to build a time machine now, it would probably be electric if a super smart scientist was going to do that.
Right.
Right.
And I think it's silly enough to work. And there's also just a single element of DeLorean to it, in silver, the coupe, the fastback style. There's just a slight tinge of DeLorean about this. I think it would actually be perfect.
I agree, just because I didn't think of it. So I'm going to give my choice, but say that actually my original choice, but say that that's actually my new choice.
Oh, nice.
Because I didn't think of that one. However, related in a way, I chose the original generation Tesla Roadster.
Oh, I thought someone would do that. I looked at that one too.
So again, here's my reasoning. Although it did not go on to leave its, parent company broke and, lonely and was a massive disappointment. It was a little bit of a disappointment, I think, for a lot of people, based on, as always with this company, the advertising. Really, it was just a very, very heavy Lotus that happened to be pretty quick. But because other than the batteries and the motor, it weighed about 4 pounds. It was like one of the first electric cars to go 200 miles or something like that on a charge in nominal conditions. So like it has some interesting firsts about it. But I think, the most unique, the most front of people's minds about it at this time is that it got shot into space on a rocket. So there's a certain amount of science fiction cachet with
That's a good point.
That kind of thing. And I agree with the ELR, but I think the Roadster also would look good in the time machine costume with the big whatever they are in the back, heat vents, jet engines, whatever they are, and has a little wall behind the driver that you could mount the flux capacitor to. It'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, that's important.
But I think it depends on if you're going for an actor / car that looks like the original one. I think the ELR is better, and has that same whiff of failure.
It really does.
I think the Roadster was a little disappointing, and that's why I gravitated towards it. But the ELR was so far off the radar that it wasn't even on my radar, who was looking for things like that. So I have to defer to your choice, but my choice was the OG Tesla Roadster, because in silver it looks kind of dumb. But it'd be great. Doesn't look half bad in red, but silver, ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on the same boat as you guys as far as this needs to be an electric car. I went kind of way off the map, though. But when you hear me explain this, and when you guys Google this, you're going to know why I went there, and it's going to make some sense. So let me try to tee this up a little bit. A lot of these movies, as they get recast, whether it be the actual actors and actresses or with cars or whatever it is, when you see remakes, there's always a little bit of homage paid to the original, right? Whether the original actor has a cameo or, you see it in like the modern James Bond movies, for instance. There's always going to be like, if nothing else, the DB5 is in Q's workshop up on Jack's. Right, whatever. So I'm like, I want a car that's going to at least be reminiscent of a DeLorean as far as its profile, the way it looks, maybe like a fastback type of thing with more of like a longer nose. Definitely has to have the doors that open kind of gull-wing style that open up. But if you're thinking like Back to the Future, your time travel, I want this thing to be super modern and super futuristic looking. So my first thought went to concept cars. And what I stumbled upon, guys, look this up if you haven't before, is the Genesis Essentia. So spell essential, take the L off the end, and that's the car. It is crazy looking. If you look at it from the side, there is a side profile about 3 or 4 rows down on Google Images.
Oh, I remember this. I had this as my wallpaper for a year.
Really?
Yeah, on my laptop. Oh, God. I remember this thing. Oh.
So electric car, the doors swing up to the front, so they're not like roof hinged like the DeLorean was, but it's reminiscent. If you look at the side profile, it's got that same kind of long nose, fastback look to it, but super futuristic, super modern. It looks like it's riding on Pirellis, so you have some good grip if you need to get up to those high speeds.
88 miles an hour.
That's right. You got So that's my pick, the Genesis Essentia for the Back to the Future remake.
I think this may have been the launch concept for the Genesis brand. I think that's what this was, if I'm remembering correctly.
I mean, super trippy interior.
It looks fabulous.
It's a gorgeous car.
Yeah. I think that's a good choice. I like that.
So, like I said, kind of off the beaten path, but I think it does well to, like I said, pay homage to the original, at least in the doors and the shape of the car, while, taking it to literally back to the future with, modern electric technology and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. Oh, by the way, I found the ELR by searching a list of the worst cars of the previous decade.
Did it give an explanation as to why?
It just said LOL underneath, which was weird.
Did you write that article?
No, I didn't. No, it just said that it was a sales failure, and the presumed reason the ELR didn't sell is because it was $75,000 for almost no range, and and $75,000.
So it's the standard Cadillac and Lexus pricing problem.
I mean, yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. All right, I will move us directly on to the movie that I think I may have put the most work into recasting, even though I hate it. And it's actually Bullitt.
Right. Originally, super famous car chase scene. Steve McQueen in a Mustang fastback, and the bad guys in a Dodge Challenger.
Charger.
Is it
Charger?
Whoops.
Yeah. Not that it really matters, but it's funny. I took notes on my phone, as I normally do, and I had a certain order for this that I'm actually now going to reverse because Nick mentioned that most of these castings pay homage, and actually, I think the two that I've selected fit that really well. But they're also the modernization, right? Mm-hmm. So, what if, instead of the Mustang and the Charger, we have the baddies in the Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk and McQueen in a Ford Raptor? Because listen, there's no way to get around it. Trucks and SUVs are what is going to sell, and this is actually probably one of the most likely recastings that we'd ever see. So looking at the sales list, the Charger in 1968, the year Bullitt came out, was the most popular car in America. And the Mustang, while I didn't have specific numbers on that, was probably up there too, given, we know the history of that car, we know how many were made, and we know that it's just been a colossal success.
Right.
So of course, the F-150, because fleet and commercial sales and all that stuff, is the most sold vehicle anywhere on the face of the planet. And the Jeep Cherokee is in the top 10. I want to say it was like 8 or something. It was in the top 10. They sell a lot of those things. So I actually think it fits, and I think it gives you interesting options to redo the chase. Maybe it's light off-roading, maybe it's not off-roading, and this Trackhawk is just blasting down a freeway, and McQueen gets to dodge off the road in the Raptor and do some crazy shortcutting. I don't know. I think it gives you options. I think it's kind of interesting, and it suits what is definitely a truck and SUV obsessed car culture for right now.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I'm not going to do what I did last time and just piggyback right on. So Nick, I'm gonna forcibly punt this one to you first.
Okay.
But I think there are some parallels, Andrew, you and I.
Sweet.
I never thought of trucks, you just automatically think car chase and it's cars. So not only would it be paying homage just to the brands, but just a totally new take on what a chase scene could be, like cinematically. I think that's a really, really good idea.
Oh, thanks.
And I applaud you for thinking of it. I went a different direction entirely here. It would have been really easy just to do the new Charger and the new Mustang Bullet Edition.
Right.
Didn't do that. I'm sure that's what they would do if this was recast. Mm-hmm. Make sure the Mustang's green, blah, blah, blah. But I was thinking that the chase scene was shot in San Francisco. Okay. Northern California, very near Silicon Valley, tech hub of basically the entire country up there. Very forward thinking with a lot of different things. We know how California has adapted to the electric car, and there hasn't been an electric car chase scene as far as I'm aware.
Do you know
I don't
why?
think so.
Well, it'd be really hard to film.
Because this doesn't make a good chase scene.
Oh, dude, you can edit shit in post. Don't even worry about it.
You get the tire squealing.
Add motor noises. Great.
You can add a bunch of stuff in post. You can hear people on the street because you couldn't before with these throaty V8s bellowing off the buildings. Now you can hear people going, "Holy shit, look out!" Like,
oh
no, they're gonna crash.
No, you know what you'd hear? You'd hear people dying because they wouldn't hear the electric cars coming.
So you'd hear dull splats. Either way, it would be a totally new. It would be a totally new experience for the audience. So, Steve McQueen is going to be driving the Tesla Model S Performance, and the bad dudes are going to be driving the Karma Rivero GTS.
I like the Karma a lot.
For those of you who haven't seen it, it looks kind of like I think that's basically the body off of a Fisker from about 10 years ago.
It's the same company.
Yeah, same company.
Yeah. They got sold and bought out by some Chinese company.
But just quick specs there. 360-mile range, not for shooting a chase scene, but that's what they advertise. 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, 536 all-electric horsepower. So since it's through San Francisco, tech hub of the country, where a lot of these great forward-thinking ideas are coming from, alternatively fueled cars for the chase scene through San Francisco, electric chase scene.
Someone's going to do that and make it cool. Someone's going to do that and it's going to be horrible. And then a different person will do that and it's going to be dope. I don't know how, but
Yep. It's going to happen at some point.
Yep. All right. So for mine, I went much more of the direction that Andrew did. Because I did try to keep, like you were alluding to in the last one, Nick, where like there are homages to the original, in some way. So I could not think of a better option to, revere yet bring forward the movie than I agree with the Raptor. I actually also chose a Raptor.
Really?
Yep, custom bullet green.
Oh yeah. Look how many they sell. Whatever.
And custom old school rims to match.
Sure.
And then, however, one of the things I loved about that movie, and you're right, definitely not all of it. The car chase scene is pretty good, especially considering that they were working with, zero, special effects for the most part. The rest of the movie can get a little boring, but the chase scene's good. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was the setup, where he's kind of burbling around San Francisco, and every once in a while he'd look behind him, and there's this black Charger menacing him until he decides to take off, and I could not think of a better option for that, at least when you're going up against the Raptor, as the Dodge Durango SRT8.
Ooh.
Okay.
Little squinty headlights, and the world's angriest grill.
That is true.
And you cut to the mirror, and for whatever reason in movies, when people look in the mirror, they can hear the car behind them. And it's going blah, 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 behind him.
Tristan, you don't know that's a feature on the mirror. You just got to reach behind and hit the button.
Yeah, that's true.
Turn the sound off.
I don't have cars with features except CarPlay, so
safety feature, man.
I don't know about these things, but yeah. So I thought, all blacked out, tinted windows, which they were not in the original movie, but make it a little bit more cranked up for 2020. Menacing black Durango, and then you also have, kind of in the same way that the original movie, the Charger would blow the doors off a Mustang. They were so much faster. And the Durango, at least by advertised numbers, is significantly faster than a Raptor. It's like 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds versus 5.1 seconds, higher top speed, that kind of thing. But then I was thinking San Francisco. So so your Raptor suspension is going to allow it to fly that much better around the streets of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And so each of them has an advantage, would make it for an interesting chase. You could do a little bit of, light off-road chasing with those two.
Soft-roading.
Soft-roading, yes. That kind of thing. So that was where my mind went, was to recreate, because I agreed, kind of looking at it, those were two wildly popular cars at the time. So I decided, okay, let's go with a popular body style. It's something that can is aspired to but easily purchased. It's not super exotic, but could make for an interesting chase scene. So yeah, Ford Raptor versus Durango SRT8.
Man, I applaud both of you guys for the truck SUV play. I can't remember the name of the street in San Francisco, but it's the curviest or crookedest street in the world.
Lombard Street.
Lombard, that's it.
Lombard, yep.
So how cool of a shot would that be? Or if the chase comes to the top of that hill with these trucks, but instead of winding through it, they just launch off and go right down the middle.
I would love that. See, now that would be your shot. You'd have your Durango sliding down the road, and then you have you launch the Raptor off the top, the Raptor, because obviously it's off road. It can do that.
Mm-hmm. YouTube it. You can see
that's your trailer ending shot, right?
Yes, that's the money shot.
Taking off, and then it just goes to black, and it's like bullet.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the money shot.
Yeah, someone's going to do this now.
You're welcome.
We're giving away all these ideas for free.
I know, it's such whatever. They can have that one. I don't even care. All right. So our last one here is Fast and the Furious. And actually what I'm going to do is punt it over to Nick, because he sounds like he may have... Basically what happened is I just picked a bunch of cars and I have an idea where they're going to go, but he sounds like he has a more reasonable direction for 4 specific characters, 4 specific cars. And I have an idea, but I don't exactly know which ones I want to go with. So I think, Nick, you can help.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best. This was one where I actually, at least for 2 of the cars, I stuck to the script, if you will, a little more. So first, let's start with the cars I picked. Andrew, you probably got a bunch of these listed out, which is fine. I just kind of went through and what are the 4? I just threw a number out there, 4 of the most prominent cars from this film. So Vin Diesel was in his 70 Charger.
Yep.
There was I think Paul Walker's was the one driving it. There was a 95 Eclipse
in the intro scene. Yep, his first car.
And then there was a 94 Supra.
Yep.
And then the baddie in this movie, to use Andrew's word, was driving a Honda S2000.
Yes, he was. That's right.
So the rival street racing gang or whatever, the heist gang. So those are the 4 cars I chose to recast. I didn't pay attention to the rest of them. I just stuck with those 4 because those seem to be the 4 that got the most play, we'll say. So just to start with the ones that I stuck to the script on, instead of the 70 Charger, I'm going to have Vin Diesel's character drive the Challenger SRT Hellcat Red Eye. So that one's pretty, like I said, pretty on script. In place of the 94 Supra, I am going to use the new Supra, but I'm going to use the GR Heritage Edition Supra that they brought out at SEMA.
That's a good one.
That is the good one. That's the one that deserves to be in this movie.
Absolutely.
So that's in there. And then I went a little bit off script. So for the 95 Eclipse, I was looking through like Mitsubishi's stuff. Well, they have the Lancer Evo, but that's not really like a street race. That's more rally. That's not really going to fit here. I mean, people do use it, but
it was in the second one. It was Tyrese's car in the second one, right?
It was. But I wasn't really feeling that at all. And this was actually the hardest one that I had to replace. I started looking at Nissan, like maybe the 370. No, not really. So actually what I did here was I just went with obviously this is going to be SEMA'd out, customized for these movies like they always are in the street racing scene, but it's going to be a VW Golf R.
Okay.
In place of the 95 Eclipse. And then it would have been really easy for me to say, instead of the Honda S2000, just be the Civic Type R. I really want to like that car, but I don't, because that wing is really stupid.
But that fits so perfectly. The wing fits.
But hey, here's here. Yeah. It fits here. But when they're making movies, obviously, imagery is hugely important. You've got usually the baddies are in a black car or they're the cowboy in the black hat, right? So I'm thinking, what car that could fit in this movie would be like, if it's like a low profile shot of a starting line and then this car rolls up and all you see is the headlights and the grill, or a garage door slides open and the lights turn on when the car fires up. Like, which one looks evil? Which one looks like, where as the thing opens, as the lights go on, the crowd sitting there is like, yep, that's the bad guy. So my choice for, instead of the Honda S2000, is the Audi RS3.
Oh,
just black Audi RS3 with the Tristan. I mean, I get what you're saying about the Durango, but I do think the new design language on the Audis with the way the lights are and that bigger, I think it looks much angrier than it just looks menacing if you see that in your mirror. So
that's a good one.
My pick for the bad guy or rival gang's car is a black Audi RS3.
That's also good because it's spendy. Like that's important for that too, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That's good. All right. I feel sufficiently revved up. Why did I say that? I didn't mean to say that. That was an accident. I'm not revved up.
We can edit it out.
Bad car podcast joke.
Well, no one's revving anything. Not at all. All right. So for the Eclipse, in place of Brian's Eclipse, what better car could there be than the tryhard car of all tryhards, the Subaru BRZ? I think that
see what
car,
you did there.
If you digitally added that car into that scene, no one would question it.
That's probably true.
I think that's perfect. But when he upgrades now, the shot that sticks in my mind more than any other from this movie is that Supra coming into the shop completely totaled. Like,
yeah, trashed.
And well, of course, the infamous line, overnight parts from Japan. But so in my mind, I was trying to pick a car sort of like what Nick was just describing, where you see it as a wrecked husk on this trailer, and you know what it is. And as someone who knows about cars, or maybe this is like your entry point into that car's really fast. Like you see it as this burnt out shell, and then you see it all done up on the road. And I went through a bunch of cars. But I think I'm quite happy with where I ended up, because in my mind, it has to be more prestigious. It has to be more fancy, a little sexier, right, than the BRZ. And I think a notable upgrade in a car that would look good in a certain way as a Hulk and also as a pristine finished street tuned piece would be the E92 M3.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I'm just picturing like
everybody would know what that shell looks like.
Yes, and I think you go. I think you
brilliant.
I think you go coupe and not sedan here. I think you go with the 2-door. And there's just like those rear lights. They're so oddly proportioned, but they're so recognizable. And the front too. I think that would be, and like I think I've said in this podcast before, I think we're about to see the renaissance of these cars as people start to go, oh, actually they looked really good, because BMW has decided to run their fucking brand off of a cliff. And so these are going to come back to be really recognizable. And I think that's a good role for it.
Yeah. Start bringing it back.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a really good pick. Damn, I'm pissed I missed that.
Awesome. And for the in place of D, was that one a Charger or Challenger in that one? I never know.
Charger, but I also said the other one was a Challenger when it was a Charger, so don't quote me.
Dom's dad's car,
there you
whatever that happened to be. I made a weird pick here because I thought of the Hellcat as well, but then I was like, oh wait, no, it's supposed to be his dad's car that he was scared of or whatever. So going back in my mind, I thought, all right, if we were going to update this, realistically, what is a car that's older but has maybe some perhaps drag, sort of retro looking drag pretenses? And I landed on the early 2000s Pontiac Firebird. It looks like a running shoe. You could see, you could pop some giant headers out the top and a big supercharger belt, and it would look completely normal on that car. And it could theoretically actually kind of do the drag thing. 5.7 liter Chevy V8, obviously. And at the time, I guess, according to this article here, it was good with a question mark. Was better than people expected. I can see it going up against the E92 crossing as they head down to the train tracks. I can definitely see that pairing.
Okay.
Little obscure. And then for the baddie car, I just went right to the spendiest of the street tuner cars, or quote unquote street tuner cars, and just went right to the STI S209. just right to that.
Okay.
For the baddie, although it's not quite evil enough now that yeah.
Two Subarus in the list.
But I'm not as impressed with that pick anymore. It's kind of sad.
Way to sell it to the group.
Well, I mean, we could do, just to mix it up, we could go Toyota 86 inside of the BRZ. So we go Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, it's a Toyota for the most part. So.
Yeah.
All right. So, I kind of picked a few to try to slot in places like you did. So, having Nick's template was definitely a good start. So for the original Mitsubishi Eclipse replacement car, I did actually end up going with, Nick, you mentioned the Z. I was trying to flip between, do we go back far enough to make it a 350Z, or do we stick to the newer, 370Z, and that's where my research failed me as far as like how old that Eclipse was when the movie came out. You know, do you guys know, was that a new car or newish car?
It was about 5 or 6 years old when the movie came out.
Which, I mean, the 370Z has been around forever, so you know, you could definitely stick with that, because in my mind, like the Eclipse, Andrew, you mentioned, like, you know, when he moves up to his next car, it has to be a little bit more spendy, a little bit nicer, but you know, the original car wasn't absolute garbage. It had its own myth to live up to. And I think that, you know, people throwing giant turbochargers on 370Zs and making them into, you know, little GTR replicas is kind of funny to me. But the fact that the fact that the motor holds up to that, you know, speaks to something. So I think that would be a good. I think that would be a good place for him to start. But, you know, Nissan, kind of like Mitsubishi, even with the Eclipse, you know, even at the time of the Eclipse was kind of the high point. It wasn't a, you know, everybody's buying a Mitsubishi, you know, thing at the time. So, you know, to have him in a car where the rest of the brand isn't that strong, I think fits. After the upgrade, something that I was looking through tunable cars, and although it's not widespread and as famous as the Supra is now, I think that's because it comes down to how popular the Supra was in this movie. Looking at actual, you know, I was in forums for this kind of thing. Apparently, a popular and possible, but not like overnight parts from Germany kind of thing, is there is a goal that's common for tuner culture with the Audi TT.
Okay.
Which is?
Most of them, actually. Apparently it's achievable with almost all of them. The newer ones require more electrical know-how because the systems are more complex, but the motors hold up to it all the way from the 1.8T to the 2-liter now. And the goal is to make a to-scale Bugatti Veyron. So not in looks, but all-wheel drive and about 2/3 to 3/4 the horsepower with about 2/3 to 3/4 the weight.
So like 700 horsepower,
something like that. Yeah, and that's kind of like the nickname. Not that anyone would actually like name it that, but it's like, yeah, I can make a mini Veyron out of this. As far as like horsepower to weight ratio, you can get to be the same as a Veyron.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah. So, you know, I think there's some legendary, you know, things going on with the motor in the Supra, and I think that that 1.8 to 2-liter Audi / Volkswagen motor is definitely something that isn't as recognized, but I want to spread that around.
That's cool.
Because it's me and, you know, German cars. So that's the first two. I kind of went the same way you did, Andrew, to a certain extent with Dom's car. I actually went with the Pontiac G8 GT.
Nice.
Okay.
I was actually influenced by that one I posted on Instagram the other day. I think it can be really well done. I think, although silly and not as classic as an old Dodge with a blower sticking out of the roof, I really think you could put like a rocker hood or a power bulge hood on a G8 and it wouldn't look wildly out of place. You know, to fit a giant supercharger in there, or even like a ram air hood, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that would fit. Barring that, if that's too ridiculous, I or not, or A, too ridiculous, can't do it. B, not quite old enough to match up to like maybe being someone's dad's car, would actually be the, was it probably early 2000s return of the GTO.
Okay. All right.
Also relatively significant, tuning potential. That one does have the big, although it's kind of odd because it came from Australia, it's not quite American looking, but has the big long muscle car hood. That one you could stick a big blower out of the top of and it wouldn't look too ridiculous. So I was undecided, but I was thinking, some good old fashioned V8 muscle for Dom's car. Stick with at least that trend. I stayed away from, sticking him in another Charger, giving him the 4-door Charger. Yikes. That kind of thing.
Hey, what do you mean, yikes?
You said Challenger, didn't you?
I did say Challenger.
Yeah.
I don't even know which one it is.
The Challenger, I think would fit. I cannot imagine one Mr. Dominic Toretto driving a 4-door Charger. And I was like, Challenger, I like it, but I wanted to think a little bit more out of the box, and frankly, just a little older. That was why I stayed away from that one personally. I think it's a great choice. I think it would also look fantastic with a big blower sticking out of the hood. But sure. I went a little bit older in that case. So, and now as far as the baddie car,
yes,
sounds excited.
I think this one's a little bit off the wall choice, and I'm actually kind of excited about it. So the like you mentioned, it has to be the rich kid car, and but still able to be tuned and not just tuned from the factory and that's it. You can't touch it. So the new Porsche Cayman, all black.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
Okay,
that is a good choice.
I haven't settled on engine choice. However, I think the new 4-cylinder with the turbo is going to give you more tuning room. However, if you're willing to modify and do things like add a turbo, then definitely you could do the 6-cylinder and like twin turbocharge that 6 or something if you had enough room. Not being a tuner, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I think that car is already being modified. I have found some modified examples and they look pretty good. And, I think that would be a good choice, flash the wealth even more than the S2000. And I think it's tunable enough that like the bad guy could get into trouble, but then he'd still be stomped. He'd still get stomped by a mini Veyron or, souped up G8 or any one of our hero cars. He could still be put in his place by our heroes. But I think that would be the combination of not quite good enough, but still, show off your money. So
definitely.
Not
I'm trying to think. So in the actual movie, because this was one car that I considered and then immediately was like, no, they actually got it perfectly right the first time. Oh, what the hell? Jesse, the guy who loses to, the baddie in the movie, in the race, had a modified Golf, and I would not change that. That would be the exact same car.
Yep, I would actually leave that. It's because he was, again, I watched this movie a whole bunch right when it came out, and I haven't watched it since. He was like the tech guy. He was their computer wizard, right?
Yep. Yeah. He overnighted the parts.
Yeah, that GTI is popular amongst tech people, engineers, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, they got that one perfectly right.
But have that be like, again, not a main character, or at least not a hero car necessarily, but definitely keep the paint scheme, that blue and white.
Yes. Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah. Well,
we made it through. I'm still going back in my notes to the to the Raptor versus Trackhawk or Raptor versus Durango. I think out of everything we recast here, that would be the movie or the scene I'd want to see the most.
Yeah, I think Durango is the call there. I really do. I think that's a better choice. So
that would be my pick for like the top of my 2 watch lists, just because no one's done like a truck chase
that would actually be really cool through the streets of San Fran. Like if someone could make that happen, and pull it off in a way that is kind of cool, and also you just have some sense of ridiculousness because that's the way it works now. But
I think it would be a very good mashup of actually 2 of my favorite car chases, the bullet car chase and the car chase from The Rock, with all the Hummers flying around San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. They did do the Hummer chase scene.
Yeah. But Hummers are only visually exciting because you're waiting for them to flip over, not because they're actually good at what they do.
Super true.
I think those are 2 fairly competent go fast truck/SUVs. I think that would like bring the excitement of a more capable car chase to the kind of pell-mell giant vehicles flying around San Francisco that the Rock chase had. I would also love to watch that.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It's a good one. It's not one that comes up often.
No, not at all. Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery on screen together.
Yeah, how about that?
Oh, God. I'm going to look up this car chase because I don't remember it at all.
Sean Connery, Scottish no matter what.
Yeah.
In every role he plays, he's Scottish. He could be cast as an American guy, could be cast as a Spanish guy. Always Scottish. Never changes his accent.
He was cast as a Spanish guy.
And he played it with a Scottish accent.
He did. But it was for Highlanders, so it was okay.
90s movie review.
Yeah, and the Scottish man in that movie was played by, was he Swedish or something?
Nordic somewhere. Yeah, somewhere.
It's funny.
One thing that we haven't yet done is picked a car movie to review on this podcast, and I don't think The Rock is a car movie. I don't think we could swing that one.
No. We could review that scene.
Maybe that's what we do. Sorry, I had my mic muted. I don't even know how. Maybe that's how we start, with some car chase reviews.
That would be good.
I'm down for that.
Interesting. Maybe that could even be for next week. Let's think about that. But for now, get us out of here, Nick.
Yes, sir. So, folks, thanks for sticking with us today. We appreciate you listening, but we don't want you just to listen. We want to interact with you, right? We already mentioned how to find us online and all the socials. We would like to ask 1 or 2 other favors of you, though. So be sure to, number 1, leave us a review wherever you're listening, preferably a good one. Just slide over and click that 5th star for us if you don't mind, and or hit that subscribe button for us. It's free, and you're just going to get notified whenever we put out new content. So it's completely harmless. If you're really into what we're doing and would like to support this podcast monetarily, you have 2 options for that. 1, you can go to patreon.com/checkenginepodcast and hit donate through there, or you can hit the support button that's on our homepage at anchor.fm. So go to anchor.fm/checkenginepodcast. Right at the top of the page, you'll see a support button. You can just smash that for us. We'd greatly appreciate it. Every cent donated is put toward making this podcast a better experience for you, and none of it goes back into our personal pockets. So again, thank you in advance for that. Guys, do we have any special shout outs before we get out of here?
I will just take a moment to shout out my mom. I got a phone call from her about a couple days ago, just saying that, I don't know if you guys have this experience, but do your parents call you to say that you never call them?
No.
And you're
No,
like,
I have a different situation though.
that's true.
My mom usually just texts or calls until I answer.
See, that's the thing. It's a two-way device, right? It's a two-way device. And
that is a phrase I have heard.
Yeah, my mom rarely calls or texts me, but she called me the other day to say that she fell at the house and shattered her kneecap.
Uh-oh. And
I said, well, why didn't you call me? And she said, oh, because I didn't want to bother you. What the fuck? Anyways, long story short, my mom did not break her kneecap by falling. She stood up, which caused her kneecap to give out, and then she fell. And so she's scheduled for a knee replacement, and it's just one of those things where you just gotta laugh a little bit, as horrible as the whole situation is. She didn't call me after that because she didn't want to bother me. So shout out to you, Mom. I love you.
And get well soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Hope to get back on your feet ASAP. Tristan?
A lot of healing vibes sent that way. I don't have anything in too particular. I would like to shout out Nick. Actually, you may agree with me. Our mutual place of employment in being calm and rational about this whole pandemic thing. I'm being told to stay at home. We don't know when this is going to be over. Just stay home. And I know there are a lot of my friends and loved ones who are essential employees, or even if they're not essential employees, are not lucky enough to be employed by some place that gets that, and they are being called back to work no matter what. So I'd like to shout out to my employer, unnamed, obviously, as it is not an endorsement, but shout out to my employer for allowing me to stay home and treating this whole thing as rationally as you can, while understanding that, yes, you're a company and you need to be open for business, but open for business doesn't necessarily mean open for people. Just have people stay home. So,
yeah, good for them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to piggyback off of you right there and say ditto.
Ditto.
I was one who tried to go back just because after 3 months of working from home, like I've personally felt like my productivity, it was starting to be strained a little bit. It was getting harder and harder to stay focused. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe just getting back to my desk and not just wearing basketball shorts or sweatpants, like actually putting on nice pants and a belt and like just going through that routine again will kind of get me going. Provided no value
for a while, I'm going to find out something I don't want to find out.
Same.
But you know what? It provided no value to me. So the office was completely empty. There was like 7 people on my
doing
floor.
remote meetings.
I was still doing remote meetings. And I think the cool part about it was like there was no pushback. I went to my manager and said, hey, look, I know I volunteered to do this and come back in, but there's really no point for me being here. And they're like, okay, just grab a monitor and go home. They didn't, well, you said and this and that, and as part of our plan, you do what you need to. And very much appreciative to that.
Sweet.
So thank you to them. And as always, thank you, the listeners, for your continued support. We love to hear from you. We love recording this for you, and we cannot wait to speak to you again. But until then, take care of yourselves.